guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. I've got Steve Waddell with me. You're going, I don't know who Steve Waddell is. I didn't know who he was until I went to CES either. I'm going to introduce you to him in just a minute. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. So I'm going to start by saying that CES, I've talked about this before, CES was the best one I've ever been to. I came away with more than 50 contacts with people. I met saw a bunch of people who were old friends, made a bunch of new friends. But once in a while, as you go through life, you meet somebody where you go, oh man, I just like to sit and spend an evening with them because they're so interesting and have such an interesting life and doing so many interesting things. And so Steve and I met. I was in the middle of a trade show, AARP trade show, and John Reinhardt, I think, is the one who actually introduced us. And he said, oh, you got to meet this guy. And we started talking. It was like, I had to go, but it was just an amazing conversation. And so normally we'd meet for drinks or lunch or something. And instead, we're going to do it here live with everybody. He's got an amazing story. So, Steve, let's just start out talking about who you are and what you do.
Hey, Steve, it's great to see you again. I really enjoyed CES, and you're right. It was a fantastic show.
So what do you do? So let's talk about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. So my background is 25 years building nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and submarines. And yes, I was in the reactor plant. I had reactor plant 2A for refueling the USS Enterprise back in 1989, 1990. I left the yard in 2007 after, again, 25 years, joined my wife's company, helped her grow it from nothing to a multi-million-dollar government consulting business. Not nothing, but as a startup to a multi-million-dollar business. And she's going to win the Inc. 5000 again this year. She's going to be in that. Her company did great last year. But I left in 2018 to start my own company. You know how you watch Shark Tank and you get inspired and you want to solve your own daily challenge? My challenge was I got tired of craning my neck in the bathroom to rinse after brushing. So I'll ask you, Steve, when you go to rinse after you brush, do you tilt your head, cup your hand, or use a cup to drink?
Oh, I tilt my head. I stick my head down underneath the faucet to get water. That's how I do it. Yeah. So if I were more disciplined, I'd have a cup, but I don't.
Well, the cup gets exposed to the aerosol effect from the toilet. When you flush the toilet, bioaerosols get ejected, float through the air, land on all surfaces, including that cup. And it can include...
you just totally grossed me out, by the way.
Well, that can include E. coli, staphylococcus, and so on. So I didn't like doing that. So I decided I would reinvent the bathroom faucet. And watching Shark Tank, you get inspired. And I happened to see these Nasoni street fountains on the streets of Rome where you plug the bottom and water pops out the top like a water fountain. And I said, you know what, I can do that. And why isn't that in the home? And so I did. I created a proof of concept by going to Lowe's, getting a fiberglass sink. I bought a faucet. I put a shutoff valve in the bottom, drilled a hole in the top, hooked a garden hose up, and it worked great. I made a little video of it. Showed it to my stepfather. Now, remember, my stepfather at the time was 83 years old. He was big in my life, literally and figuratively, because he's 6'3". I'm 5'8" on a good day. And so I looked up to him all my life, and I excitedly showed him my faucet, my, quote, fountain faucet. And he looked at it, and he goes, what the heck are you going to do with that? And I'm like, well, when you go to rinse after you brush, you got to tilt your head, cup your hand, and use a cup, right? And he looks at me totally straight-faced, and he says, no. I said, no, what do you do? He goes, oh, I just take my teeth out and put them in a cup.
Yep.
Well, he didn't get it. I said, you're not my target market.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I entered a bunch of startup competitions to try to see if this idea had legs. And over the course of the next couple of years, I won over $80,000 in startup competitions, including $50,000 on stage with Steve Harvey in a TV show called Steve Harvey's Thunderdome. They flew me out to Las Vegas, and I competed against another entrepreneur for the audience vote, and I won the $50,000. That allowed me the money I needed to build my, what they call an MVP, or minimum viable product. And I used that MVP to go to KBIS, the kitchen and bath show, in Orlando, the largest show for bath products in the country. And we came away with the Best of KBIS People's Choice Award. I then leveraged that to get investment to help us go into production and go to market. Now, in my TEDx talk that I gave last October, I likened the failures of entrepreneurs, the setbacks, to krakens because of my shipbuilding background, right? And I hit 3 big krakens on my journey. Number one was we patented too soon. The design changed in the development of the product, as we go through prototyping. And I patented too early and had to refile again. Now, you know how expensive attorneys are, right? So filing again cost me a lot of money. The second thing that hit me was, there's no real cast brass faucet manufacturers left in the US anymore. So we had to manufacture in Asia. And what happened was the product is being shipped here. And as it's being shipped here, the US implemented a 25% China tariff, if you recall. Now, when I made a $200,000 order, 25% of that is 50 grand. So that consumed my entire marketing budget just in one brutal gulp by the Kraken, right? As my product's being shipped here. That wiped out our entire marketing budget. And then as soon as it gets here, 3 months later, what happens? COVID, the biggest Kraken of all, right? So all your planned trade shows and things like that, they all were canceled. And now a fountain faucet is not something you can really sell virtually initially as you're trying to gain market awareness. You want to be able to demonstrate it. Well, you can't demonstrate it when everybody's going around like this, right? Everybody's looking to buy toilet paper, not faucets right then, right? Toilet paper was the big deal. So it really set us back in our launch. And now I'm pulling money out of my 401k to keep the company alive. And my wife looks at me and she goes, you ought to think about a grant. I'm like, what am I going to do with a grant and a fountain faucet, right? Well, fortuitously, I was introduced to Dr. Lisa Caperna. Lisa is the clinical director at Old Dominion University Monarch Physical Therapy. And she saw the fountain faucet and she goes, oh my gosh. And by the way, you can see that faucet right here. I'll bring it a little closer.
Yeah, hold it up there so we can see it. Yeah.
And you basically rotate the lever and it becomes a water fountain. And so when Lisa saw that, she goes, oh my gosh, if I had a sensor version of that, we could help spinal cord injured patients live more independently. And I'm like, wow, that's a great idea for the grant. Well, if you recall back then, we also had the PPP loan to help small businesses stay alive. I got $20,000. Now, to win a phase 1 SBIR grant, the odds are only 13%. So I had to de-risk that opportunity. I went and found the best grant writer I could find, and I had to pay him $10,000, half of my entire PPP loan. And so that's a big gamble, right? When your company needs every penny, but it was worth the risk because the opportunities to win $259,000, which we won. We won the phase 1 grant. And keep in mind that in serving spinal cord injured customers, that's a great first market because anybody else that has less injury, we're talking C7 and above, right? They have trunk control, but no hand dexterity, things of that nature. And so if we can help them use the faucet easier, we can help people with arthritis and other lesser conditions, but still are troubled to use normal everyday products like a faucet. So anyway, long story short, the phase 1 clinical trials went fantastic. We knocked it out of the park. And so we applied for phase 2, and I won phase 2 for $2.02 million. And where that is underway. We just finished year 1 clinical trials late last year and year 1 of phase 2. And they went fantastic. We changed the design a bit, basically incorporating feedback from the prior trial. And also along the way, I realized there may be another opportunity. What came to mind is my mother-in-law was helping my father-in-law as he declined with dementia over a 3-year period. And they fell in the shower. She was trying to help him wash his hair in the shower. And they both fell. She hit the toilet. He hit the rail track that the sliding door slid on, And I'm thinking, why can't we offload shower functions to the bathroom sink where it's safer? Why couldn't he wash his hair at the bathroom sink? You cannot get your head underneath it, right? Because it's too low. And so I actually went and met with the head gerontologist in the area, Dr. Hamid Okravi. Now, I don't know if you know Dr. Okravi, but he was just selected for a 2-year term on the Alzheimer's Association board. So he's got a new role there. And I talked to Dr. Okravi. I told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to modify the faucet to make it taller so we could get our head underneath it, wash our hair, and things like that where it's safer. And he looked at me and he goes, I like that idea. I'd like you, Steve. He goes, I want to work with you on this. He said, but I also have another problem. I have to call my patients every morning and every night to remind them to take their medications. I'm like, well, let's put that in the grant. That's a great idea. Because, I know my mother, who now is 86, and my mother-in-law is 89, they don't remember to take their meds. But let's put it in the grant, and we'll build it into the faucet because we have a digital screen. We have Alexa voice connected, things of that nature. So I put it in the grant. Long story short, I just won $2.58 million last September, and we're marching forward on that one as well now. So in the last 2 years, we've won $5 million to reinvent the bathroom faucet. And basically, my goal is to make the bathroom the center of health and wellness in the home. I mean, think about it. Right now, it's the de facto standard for health and wellness. Where do you go when you have a cut to rinse it off, get something in your eye, what have you? The medicine cabinet traditionally has been in the bathroom, things of that nature. Why can't we really make it the hub of health and wellness in the home?
Okay, so I have a new invention for you to build.
Okay.
I take a few medications every day. And so the way I deal with this is I went down to the dollar store and I bought these little round pill boxes, right? And I have 4 of them. So once a month I get out all my pills and I spend about 20 minutes portioning these things out. And I want you to create an invention where when my prescriptions come, I just pour them into a bunch of little cups, or I screw them onto a little cups. And I plug in my screen what the prescription is. Most of them are just once a day pills. And every morning I push a button and it just drops them all in my hand. And all I have to do is every 90 days plug my bottles in.
It's an interesting thing you say that, because Nottingham Spurt is probably the foremost innovation hub in the entire country. Look them up on the internet, just nottinghamspurt.com. They're out of Cleveland, Ohio. And they've invented everyday products like the Spin Brush toothbrush. You've heard of the Navage nasal irrigation system. Other products like the Dutch Boy square paint can. They invented all of that. They've sold billions and billions in products. Well, I am working with them now as a subcontractor on the EVMS grant. They are working to reinvent the faucet with me. And they actually have a medication dispenser like you're talking about that they invented with Cardinal Health out of Cleveland, Ohio. The other thing I'll mention is there are also other inventions similar to what you're talking about, but it's incumbent upon the pharmacy to create these pill packs that have your daily meds all in individual packs. The only problem with that is when your meds change, the pack would have to change. The pharmacy have to keep up with it.
Yeah, I actually tried that for a while and it was very unsatisfactory. Things changed. And the biggest thing was they didn't ship them soon enough. And so I'd get to the last package and I was like, is it going to come? Is it going to come? Is it going to come? And I found that to be super unsatisfactory. So I tried that.
Actually looking into, I'd like your thoughts, but we're actually thinking about what we're doing is guided medication management, where we have a mobile app that goes with the faucet. And you would actually go in and the caregiver would load your daily regimen into the faucet. So what is your morning pills, your evening pills, and so on. And then the faucet, where's the first place you go when you get up?
Yeah, the bathroom, right? Yeah.
Where's the last place you go before you go to bed?
Yeah.
Bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's really the most common place to do all this, right? And so first thing you do when you go in, the faucet could say, "Good morning, Steve. Did you remember to take your meds yet?" And then you would say, no. Okay, well, let's do that now. And it would walk you through one by one each of the meds you need to take. And then let's say later in the day, it's lunchtime, and you say, did I remember to take my meds this morning? And the faucet could tell you, yeah, you took them at 8 a.m. Your next interval will be tonight at 7 p.m. And so that's the things we are working on to revolutionize the bathroom.
Yeah, so I really like this a lot. So I've got my, you probably wouldn't know this, but my regular readers and viewers would know this. My stepfather was in senior living for 60 days. He's got dementia. He's back living with us. And we have a really hard time with the pills, right? Because he has a very weird sleep schedule. So we haven't seen him yet this morning, and it's almost 11 o'clock here. So he won't get his morning pills until about 1 o'clock, but probably sometime at 6 o'clock in the morning, he went into the bathroom, and to have something that would detect him in there and say, "Hey, Gary, time to take your morning pills. Here they are," would be amazing.
Yes.
So I love this. So
the other thing, Steve, is we're actually going to make the faucet so that it can be a night light. when you walk in the bathroom, you don't want to turn the overhead light on because it jars you, right? And
Yep.
you want to go back to bed. Let's say most of us, when you get to my age or whatever, you have to get up middle of the night sometime, go to the bathroom, right? Let's face it. And if the faucet could just light up the display and give you just enough light to go in and do whatever you got to do, how perfect would that be, right?
You bet. So I'm going to continue this conversation, but first I've got a sponsor message we need to play.
Sire! Enemies at the gates, we need reinforcements!
Deploy Fit cybersecurity. When it comes to cybersecurity, you're going to get attacked. The question is, what are you going to do to prepare for it? Fit cybersecurity provides a turnkey 24/7 service that works with your current tools, software, and your team for custom support, so you can minimize damage and recover quickly. Don't let your business be unprepared. Click the link to schedule a call with Fit Cybersecurity today.
These guys make the best commercials. I love them. They are amazing. So we're glad to have FitSolutions as one of our sponsors. Okay, so I want to talk. Where do I go for next? I know what I want to talk about first, and we can come back to the sort of the stuff you're building. But one of the things that really intrigued me when we talked at CES was you got all these grant monies and you got in front of all the people, the right people to do this. And there are entrepreneurs everywhere who are struggling to make that happen. How did you do that?
As far as the grants go?
Well, both in front and getting in front. I mean, there are lots of people with good ideas out there. And I probably since the first of the year, I've talked to half a dozen companies who are sort of bootstrapping these little companies, trying to do these things, and they have no money. And this is a big, huge problem. And you figured it out by getting these grants. And I think you could be really helpful to just talk through how you do this.
So there's a couple things that I'll explain. I released my new book last year in January. It's called Valuepreneurs, and it's in the book. And I discuss on how various funding avenues become available depending on where you are in product development process. When you're just at the idea stage, then you can't go out and get grant funding. You can't go out and get SBA loans and things of that nature. You really can only bootstrap, just as you put it, Steve. And then you get a little bit further, you can get into things like what they call friends, family, and fools, right? And they'll be willing to put money in. And then let's say you get into a little further in design element, then you're going to get into where you can do things like accelerators or also Kickstarter and Indiegogo, platforms like that, right? Yep. But as far as grants go, you can actually get into grants. You got to have the right idea, and you need to find an expert in grant writing to help. Because my background, I've written government proposals for my wife's company. I've won multi-million-dollar proposals. But the grant writing process is so unique and so different. Don't do it on your own. I highly recommend go to Upwork, find a grant writer that has great reviews and that has won millions in grants. That's what I did. And that's how I was, sure. And he helped me figure out what grants were available for my idea, right? I didn't know how to navigate that grant world because I was new to it. So finding someone with that expertise. There's a book by Dan Sullivan, and it's more about leveraging the expertise that's out there. Who, not what, right? I think that's the name of it.
Yep.
And it's all about finding the right expertise. There's somebody out there that knows what you need to know. You just need to find them. And I leverage LinkedIn quite a bit as well. So grow your LinkedIn network, but use tools like Upwork to go find freelancers that can help you.
Cool. And because it sounds like, I'm sure it was harder than you made it sound, right? But it sounds like it was just sort of this nice, steady progression of, I got this idea, I built this prototype with $100 worth of stuff from Home Depot, and voila, the next thing I've got millions in grants.
So you're right. The process sounds like it's a straight line from start to finish, and it's all up, going up to that goal right at the mountaintop. But along the way, there are pitfalls. You're going to hit those pitfalls all along the way, and I described that in the book. And you got to be prepared. That means you have to have an idea that you're truly passionate about solving, right? If you're not passionate, you're going to give up when those hard times hit. And I'll tell you, one reason I'm so passionate is my father was an Army veteran, right? And he was falling And I did not know why, didn't know how to help him, anything like that. One of the things I learned in the NIH, what they call I-Core program a couple of years ago, it's still all about customer discovery. We learned that 80% of falls occur because of dehydration. I had no idea. And looking back, I would have realized that because my father drank coffee in the morning. He drank Coke. He loved Coke, drank that all day. And sometimes at night, he'd be Jack and Coke. But he never drank water. And I'm sure he was dehydrated. And I just look back now. And that's one of the things drives me forward is if we can invent a product that can remind you to hydrate and provides a water fountain mode to make it easier for you to get water. We also have a filter, by the way, that goes underneath the bathroom vanity. If you don't like your water source, we can filter it for you. But my dad is one of the reasons drives me forward to help others that are going through this, right? And to solve it for future generations that are, let's face it, all baby boomers will be over the age of 65 by the year 2030. So we really have an age tech crisis, happening now. And we need to make things better for that.
We do. Yeah. Yeah. So what about, is there a kitchen version coming too?
So the actual, I've heard that quite a bit in our trials because sometimes the spinal cord injured patients in their wheelchair, their bathroom is not really accessibly designed and they end up having to use the kitchen because their wheelchair doesn't fit into their bathroom. So we've had that question before. The new design we're coming to, and I can't elaborate exactly on how that is because I can't give away the patent secrets we're working on.
Right.
But yes, it could be installed in a kitchen location.
Cool. And so as you go through this process, so you've talked a lot about sort of the process of developing the product. And I guess one of the things I guess we should get to here is where this all fits into senior living, since this is a senior living technology conversation. But as I said, I just wanted to sit and talk with you and learn from you because you're doing such cool things. But anyway, how do you go about, once you get this thing built, how do you go about taking it to market and making it actually economically successful?
So that's another fantastic question, Steve. One of the issues we know is there's two friction points for a faucet like this. One is you have to have a plumber. And number two, you're going to need an electrical outlet in the vanity to plug the faucet into. And so we're talking to adaptive remodelers that will remodel, facilities. Because let's face it, you want mom and dad to stay at home longer. Kids today that have parents of baby boomer parents, right? They don't want them to have to go to assisted living. So in order for them to stay at home longer, we've invented this faucet, and adaptive remodelers can easily come in and remodel the home. Because face it, when we put my father in assisted living, it was $7,000 a month, and that adds up a lot, right? $84,000 a year, and
so but if you're going to adaptive remodelers, I mean, that sounds like a tough haul to get it out to a broad market sales. And to me, it seems like every new home should have one of these.
We agree. And so we're also working on different opportunities to reduce the acquisition cost through FSA and through different methods like, I can't think of the name of it, but discount codes, from the government to help offset the acquisition cost.
Great. I don't know whether you want to, we didn't talk about this in advance, and so you may not want to talk pricing here, but if you're willing, can you talk about pricing?
We are still determining that as we design and finish all the elements that'll make up the faucet. We're targeting $899 for what we call the MVP. And then the 2.1 version we call our fall detection module radar. That's $1,099, but that will have, where do most falls occur in the home? I'll ask you this.
The bathroom. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So it's actually the most dangerous place in the home. Now, think about wearables that detect falls, like Life Alert, right? Or the Ring, or a Ring, or the watch. What do you do when you go in the bathroom?
You take them off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
right.
That's why we're doing this. We're building a fall detection model that goes with the faucet so we can detect those falls that the wearables will not do.
So one of the things that you've said, I'm going to actually push back on you a little bit on this, is that you sort of said this is an antidote to senior living. And I actually think this is a perfect product for senior living, that it has the ability to keep people healthier and to protect more inside senior living. And it would be a great marketing differentiator, I would think, to do this.
So I'm 100% with you, Steve. One of the things we learned from one of the largest assisted living owners in Canada was that there are two key problems with people living in those homes, and it's dehydration. And there's two issues with it, though. When your mouth is dehydrated, there's two problems. One, the falls, but the other is your mouth becomes acidic and it eats at the enamel on your teeth, right? And so when you think about the design of most senior living homes, the resident has a bedroom, like a living room, and a bathroom. That's pretty much it, right? Nowhere to go get water, like a kitchen or something like that. So by having this fountain mode in that bathroom right there, easy to get water daily, and a reminder to hydrate. Think about the faucet, and it would say, "Hey, Steve, did you remember to get a drink of water today?" And it would automatically make the water fountain come on for you. Just
I like that a lot. I mean, because dehydration is a big problem in senior living as well as it is at home, right? Okay, I got one more thing I got to ask you about. I mean, you got it up on the back wall. What's that mirror thing back there?
That's a smart mirror, and we're actually going to be working to integrate with that. So if I were to go over here and touch that, you can actually see the screen come up. Now imagine as we're developing this faucet and it's asking about your meds, and then we show a pill bottle on the screen. You reach up and touch it to show you've taken it. I mean, there's all kind of cool things planned in the future, but that's an iteration of our product.
That's cool. So how do people find the faucet you got today?
So today, this faucet is available on Nasoni.com, Nasoni.com, or on wayfair.com. And then if you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to connect. My own personal site is swaddell.com.
Cool. Well, I'm excited about what you're doing. So do you have like the next 10 products already in your head that you're going to invent after this?
Right now, again, my goal is to solve this huge problem we're working on now, because I'm inspired by my father. I have all the time. I'm the kind of person that when you see an issue that something's not working right, I always have a better idea and I want to go after it, but I have to start controlling those, right, and maintain focus. So
yeah. And how long until the sensor faucet is out?
We got to finish clinical trials this summer. We're doing 2 clinical trials. One is with Eastern Virginia Medical School. That's with Alzheimer's and dementia in clinic. And then in-home trials are with the spinal cord injured patients this summer. And then we'll be a year from that before we're ready to finalize product design and then go to market.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about it on the dementia side of thing. I'd love to know a little bit more how that works and how that's different than the spinal cord.
We have not worked through the details on the test plan for that yet, but we actually have 20 patients that will go through the clinical trials, and then 20 dyads, they call them, right? So it's the people that will do the control group function for it as well. And so again, that will be done in clinic with Eastern Virginia Medical School. Dr. Hamid Okrabi and his team will be running those clinical trials for us. And we'll be testing multiple modes. We have what they call fountain mode, which is the water fountain. We have a grooming mode for facial rinsing. And then we have washing mode where it comes down. And then we have multiple ways to actuate with the faucet. One is push button remote. We learned people in wheelchairs didn't want to reach all the way to get to the faucet because they didn't have the muscle function. And they said, what if we can control the faucet closer to a wheelchair? So we invented a push button remote for it. We also have Alexa voice. I invented something called smart motion control. Since this is tech show, Steve, I'll explain that. We are using sensors, and I told my team, how you go in a commercial bathroom and you wave your hand, the faucet goes on, goes off. That's a dumb sensor. I told my team, I said, listen, I want ours to change temperature as we move our hand closer. And so we've actually done that, and it's built into our faucets now. We're the first ones to ever do that.
And you should be able to do it by voice, right? I mean, I control my TV with my voice, and if it's not loud enough, I go Alexa volume up, or if it's too loud, I go Alexa volume down. Why couldn't I go faucet water on, faucet hotter, faucet colder, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Correct. Yeah, and we can do it again with the push button remote as well, and then the smart motion control.
Good. And are you doing these trials in people's homes, or are they being done in a senior living community?
This summer, the trials for spinal cord injury will actually be at home. Next summer, they will be in people's homes.
Okay.
The seniors.
With the seniors. Okay. Yeah, because I would think that you would be easy for you to find a senior living community for your dementia part of it to try it, and that they would love to do that. So
one of my goals, because my father was an Army veteran, is I'd love to get in with the VA and actually do a test with the Veterans Affairs Administration. It's got a sweet spot in my heart. My father served 28 years in the Army.
Great. Yeah. So if anybody knows anybody in the VA system, reach out to Steve. His contact information is available. You can reach out to me and I'll connect you with it. Steve, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. I love your passion and, maybe more than anything else, I'll tell you what I really love is you just decided you were going to do this and you just kept going and kept going and kept going and figure out a way to make it happen. And that is really what true entrepreneurs do. So thank you very much for joining us and thank you for watching.
Steve, it's been an honor. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.